Good evening, everyone. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, participants. I welcome you to this scheduled State of the Igbo Nation series brought to you by Ndi Media TV. I'm your host this evening, Mazi Tochukwu Ezoke. Tonight, we gather to engage in a vital dialogue with leaders from our Igbo, addressing the pressing issues that concerns Ndi Igbo in Nigeria and beyond. As you all know, in our previous episodes, we've had the privilege of speaking with notable figures such as late Chief Dr. Emmanuel Iwanyango, former President General of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo Worldwide, esteemed personalities like Professor Osita Ogbu, OON, Senator Iyom Uche Ekunife, DG of the Southeast Governors Forum Secretariat, Senator Chris Anyango, Dr. Stanilos Ukeje, PhD, Valentine Mozibo, Abraham Wankwo, Pa Umelazo, former IG of Police, Chief Michael Kiro, and so many more others. Again, we are delighted to always share their insights and challenges and aspirations of our people. Today, we have a privilege to host a one-on-one, like we always do, a conversation with a distinguished guest who stands at the intersection of Igbo leadership and cultural preservation. Our guest this evening is no other person than Livingston Weche. My brother, you're welcome to Ndi Media TV.
Thanks for having me. Ndewono.
Okay, as we progress, my guest this evening is the president of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo in Rivers State, that is the Rivers State chapter, and also the national chairman of the Ikwere People's Congress, IPC Worldwide. Now, grab your seat. This dialogue this evening promises to dive into the pressing issues affecting Ndi Igbo and explore pathway to reclaiming and securing our cultural, political, and economic future as we look back on history, challenges, and such as the Civil War struggles and the enduring impact of external interest. We must chart a new course forward, guided by unity and a renewed sense of purpose. Like I said before, I am Mazi Ezoke, your host and the CEO of Ndi Media TV. I am honored to facilitate this conversation. We invite you to engage with us as we critically assess the state of the Igbo nation and its place in Nigeria and the global community. Just as a means of information, please, for those of you who are watching us on our various social media handles, please, if you do have any question, do choose to make use of the comment section. For those here with us, if you also have a question, hold your peace. Towards the end, we will give you a 1-minute mark for you to ask your question. Those are the ground rules. So let's start. One name walking. Take him today.
Anamia, God bless you. It's good to be here. And it's an honor of life to be on such a platform where my kinsmen are available in Obi. You know, so it's quite a very cheering moment, and I deeply appreciate this honor.
Thank you very much. I ganam okwagwaromia aturuji siturumboro. So I surutungo Igbo, I surukwan Igbo, no Ndi Igbo kaibo. Just for a start, you know, the election on election name, which saw you as the president of Ohaneze River State chapter.
Yes.
You know, that was a keenly contested election.
Yes.
You know, I would rather say that some feelings were bruised, and things obviously, you know, as in any normal, election to be contested, that is expected. Now, having won, what is that one thing that you think that is needed to be done? I think your rotation is off. Okay, you're back.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what is that one thing that you think that is needed that you would in the next 1 year do to bring the people of Ndi Igbo in River State together?
Well, first of all, where we are now is a moment of history. And it's a very strategic era, and I think it's divine because I believe that God has prophetically marked out this season for Igbos to come together. The Jews had their season when they needed to come back home and unify. This is that golden opportunity for Ndi Igbo to come together. One message that I have maintained is that there is no superior nor inferior Igbo. There is no mainstream Igbo, midstream, or whichever categorization. Igbo bu Igbo. And that is why I think further that my own version of Igbo, Ikwere language, and that is why my major preoccupation at this time is to unify Igbos in Rivers State and to build the Igbo-ness of Ndi Igbo to the point where Rivers State becomes the melting point as well as the muster point of this end-time Igbo development. Part of the message is to drive a return home investment of Igbos around the world to channel their investment into Rivers State, because the riverine Igbo is the gateway of the Igbo nation into the Atlantic. So in that unification project, we want to sign a signature with a return home investment plan for our brothers, kith and kin around the world to begin to strongly consider the need to extend their wealth of resources back to their homeland. Because our wealth is spread across the various parts of the world. But beyond that, that cannot be established without, first of all, identifying with the people. Because the highest resources Ndi Igbo nwere today are Ndi Igbo. You cannot harness the potentiality of the Igbo race without, first of all, identifying with the people themselves that make up this race. It's not going to be a one-man's projection. It's going to be a people-oriented project. And in order to get the people to buy into that project, there has to be a unification plan. And that Igbo unity is what is of the greatest essence to me, which is what we should be looking out for right now, that wherever you find an Igbo person, you see that Igbo person as your brother. There used to be this impression, I've heard those type of expressions from our hinterland Igbo brothers, where there's Aiwa Ndi Igbo, when they are talking to the Ikwere brothers, Ono Ndi Ikwere, and I find that very uncomfortable. I find that unacceptable. And a hinterland Igbo person does not see his riverine Igbo brother, or an Onsoka person does not see the Ikwere person as a Ainwa Ndi Igbo. And then you are addressing an Ikwere brother. So, Onwa Ndi Igbo, Ndi Ikwere, how are Ndi Ole? How are Ndi Igbo? You know, so those type of mindsets. Let me give you a very interesting side of this story. There was this narrative that before this time, some of the communities in Ikwere land were bearing Umu Okoro, Umu Omasi, and so on. And that because we believe that we are no longer Igbo, we began to change it from Umu to Romo. And I said, no, I think you get it all wrong. Because you cannot foist an identity on a people. You allow them to express their individual and collective uniqueness. Ikweres are Igbos, I have maintained. And we have a version of Igbo in our dialect. So our own version allows us to be a Romo Okoro. You know that we have the Anioma people. They say Olise. The Onitsha will say Olisa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my native name, my Igbo name is Bodoka. The hinterland Igbo will call it Ndoka. So would you now say, because I want to express my Igbo heritage, I will now change from Bodoka to Ndoka? I will not do that. I am proudly Bodoka because that's my dialect, that's my version of Igbo language. And the best way for us to relate is for you to appreciate the uniqueness of my version of Igbo language. And that is why in our Ohaneze meetings here in Rivers State, when we greet Oha Neze, Onyahala Nwanne ya, Igbo kwenu, ndị nwe m unu anọ na ye, you know, we also come with the Ikwere version, Anumekao, Ikwere Anumekao, Ihoro Hazapa, Anukalama Anumekao, Eleri Yamma, Oyoyo. You get the point? Did you see the beauty?
Yeah.
So when we, and our hinterland Igbo brothers who are here, enjoy it. Anumekao, one man came one time and said, no, don't be doing Anumeka here. Say Igbo kwenu, kwezuenu. I said, look, I think you are lost on transit. Because when you say Igbo kwezuenu, that's like a popular Igbo greeting. But coming back home to the uniqueness of my dialect, I have to now raise it. Like Eche will say, Eche, Chekao, Kankao. Do you understand? You have those type of things. Just today, my elder brother and friend, Antonio Lisa in Aberdeen, sent a message to me that the general officer commanding 6th Division of the Nigerian Army here in Port Harcourt, his name is Emeka and he's from Cross River State. Did you get that? Cross River State. And his name is Emeka and he's Igbo, but he's from Cross River State. Meanwhile, many of our people don't know that you have Igbos in Cross River State. Like I have told them, there are also Ikweres in Delta State. There is a tribe called the Ewereis. They migrated from Elele in Ikwere land to the now Delta State. And we have Ikweres in Imo State, the Ikwerengwas. And then we have Ikweres in Abia State. The Ngwaiheke, they have their brothers here, siblings, the Evo Kingdom and the Apara Kingdom. These are Ikweres. So just like Ndi Igbo, people try to restrict Ndi Igbo to the 5 eastern states. I say, look, Ohaneze is not Ohaneze in the southeast. It's Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, wherever they are around the world. And I have maintained that Igbos are the largest black stock on earth. You can't challenge that fact. Because, okay, today it's on record that the largest slave port was the Calabar port. And the highest number of slaves that were transported to the rest of the world were Igbos. So Igbos are in various countries in Brazil, where the Yorubas are trying to contend with them over dominance of that country. An Igbo man is president of Gabon, is not in dispute. You have them in Equatorial Guinea, Barbados, Cuba, and so on. So the unification project is key to me, so that wherever we find ourselves, we extend our hands across the bridge and hold each other's hands in order to drive our development in this end time. Thank you.
Nwanne nwoke imeela. Ịhụla ka isi kọwaa ya. It's quite, some people will say that the ancestors apparently descended on you at this critical moment in order for you to take this mantle at this critical time. Now, I ga-aga n'iru mana o nweghị nchọ ịjụ gị. You know, dịka isi bido, o nweela ka kedu ihe ị nwere maka ịchịkọta ndị Igbo ndị nọ na Rivers? O nweela ka isi akwado ije kwuru ndị na-azụ ahịa ma ndị na-arụ ọrụ? Kedu nwee ike ịkọwatụla kedu ụfọdụ ihe ndị imeela?
Okay. Very, very well. Thank you. Actually, mụ na ndị na-azụ ahịa, mụ na ha meeted some days ago, the various groups, because actually me meeting with the various market heads. Ịma na ndị Igbo wu ndị ọzụ ahịa. and anyị na-azụ anyị na-erekwa, and anyị dịkwa into different sectors. Ndị na-azụ ahịa ihe oriri, and ndị nke na-azụ ahịa ihe eji ewu ụlọ, nakwa ndị na-azụ ahịa ihe ha ji eme ụgbọala, and so on. So I dị into different sectors. So ihe m bidoro imewo the various groups mụ na ha ka na-emeti. O nwere ndị nke mụ na ha metiri some 3 days ago na People's Club na Port Harcourt. A group of very prominent Igbo businessmen. And some of them, some of our brothers, including Uzoma and Livinco Electricals, Udoka Bestman, a good number of Julius Uzoma and so on. One of our brothers into real estate, Endless Properties. Okay, so mụ na ha metere, and ihe m gwara ha wụ na achọrọ m ka the various Igbo groups, I nwere too many groups mechara evolve into political support groups, and ọ na-eme ndị Igbo dịka ndị na-achọ ihe ha ga-eri na-agbaso ndị politicians. And so I say no, that all these groups will have to collapse them into Ohaneze Ndi Igbo. We have an apex body. Inside Ohaneze, anyị nwere ike na-enwe departments, units of different sectors, instead of having too many parallel organizations. Igbo United Igbo Congress, Igbo Community, and so on. There are too many groups like that. And he were leadership. And then, of course, I were presidents of the various Igbo states, those units in Rivers State, all the normal. But my arrangements were now, okay, on Tuesday, ndị nke Ikoku, ndị building ndị motor spare parts market, mụ na ha ga-emeti. And just this evening, I was rushing down here. Mụ na some women groups meeting, so that all the various Igbo and the indigenous Igbos, the women's group, and so on, I now work out a modality for Hanile Ebiakota together, so that we can stand under one umbrella. It doesn't stop them from associating in various groups, but largely they should work with Ohanese. They should work under the leadership of Ohanese while maintaining their respective interests. You cannot stop people from exercising their right of association. But I hold the need that these various market groups and business groups, part of the arrangement with that now I get a business development summit, CUM, a business economic and investment summit in Rivers State. But before I get away that arrangement, I got check out these various groups. They're already subscribing to it. Opposition groups among themselves because of some challenges of the past. So for they have a break here away and formed their own groups and have their political affiliations and so on. But Agwalam Hana, for us to have the formidable arrangement, a front, the type of force, a drive, or the type of development and growth I may deserve, that all of us get together so that we can develop it. And part of the arrangement will work out a comprehensive database of Ndi Igbo on a River State, both indigenous and non-indigenous. A comprehensive database. The president of Ndi Anambra got him the other day that Ndi Anambra wanted their own. I think that's the only state wanted their own database. But actually, we made an arrangement where I get a comprehensive database. Inside that database, once Madam Mwanwa Nwibo, from the point Onwa who putara na I get me a register, I get me an update immediately on the database that a child has been born into a particular family. So we're going to have such an arrangement because in that database, there is going to be a platform on your below when you subscribe to and updating information. And there are going to be several portals where information on new children born into the Igbo family in River State is updated, information about those children. Now, oge tinye aka ihe gbasara voter registration, because part of our plan will embark on a massive voter registration for all Igbos at the age of 18 and above, they eligible to vote and be voted for. So that one now getinye aka, because I actually with a policy that as long as you onye Igbo name business and you be in a River State, you should register and vote in River State. Because oge tinye aka, you cannot be doing business and you live here, and then you don't have a stake in the politics of the state that formulates policies that affect your business and livelihood. So that, because I am the largest political bloc in Rivers State in terms of voting population. So we must be able to harness that. Because before this time, all they reduced to just around the election, hey, we take some Igbo guys to mobilize Igbo population to vote for particular candidates. But this time around, I'm saying that Igbos can determine who governs River States. Igbos can have a say on who governs River State. And you have to do the bidding of those that control or that have an influence, as it were, with profound respect to the other groups. We respect them, they are our neighbors. This is not to undermine them, but everybody in your respective position, you have to up your ante and drive your agenda. It's interest-based and nothing more. So those are the part of the things we are doing.
Thank you very much. N'ihe niile ịgụpụtara anyị na-eme, onweela ka onye na-achị Rivers State unu na ya si na-akparịta nkata dịka ebe nwere ike inye aka, ma ọ bụ etu unu na ha ga-esikwanụ wee na-arụkọ maka ọdịmma ụmụnne anyị unu nwa nọ ebe ahụ?
Okay, well, first of all, aga m asị na the emergence of our father and leader, Senator John Azotambata, former Senate President pro tempore of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a great mark, a landmark event for us here in Rivers State. And most of us vindicate, most of us advocate for Ikwere brothers to celebrate this Igbo heritage. Because when we all ruled the turn of Rivers State, there were challenges and there were also mischievous plots to move this PG office to Abia State or to extend the tenure of Imo State. Some people were plotting to amend the constitution and do all manner of things. But thankfully, the Governors Forum during the Ohaneze election may announce, Nahemere extend a message to the Governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Sir Siminalai Fubara, Guayana, Kawo, the turn of Rivers State, he produced the PG. So I Cherokee may someone at least support the process and the effort so Rivers State can produce the President General. His consent, Guayana, Oge Mayor in writing to formalize that the Rivers State government is supporting the emergence of the President General to come from Rivers State. And the Governor of Rivers State made that later to the Governors Forum of the Southeast. Okay? Is to say that I am a very good working relationship with the Governor of Rivers State to that extent. I don't want to go into personal relationships between the PG and the Governor. They have a very interesting and robust rapport. So, we are having emerged less than a month ago. We are looking forward to, first of all, have an interface, a courtesy visit to the Governor. Thankfully, the Governor may issue a congratulatory message to the PG, Senator John Mbata. And, as the President hosting the President General, I have a lot of work to do because a lot falls on my shoulder. I need to defend my PG, I need to support my PG, and I have to do everything humanly possible and divinely possible to make him succeed. So that relationship they established strongly with the Rivers State government, and by the time Ainaya Game, Ainaya Bankata, and so on, we're going to exploit and table areas of synergy, areas of partnership. You know, the beauty is that Igbos don't come cap in hand. So we are not coming to beg government to give to us. We are telling government we want to partner with you to develop our state because we have a lot to offer. And ahụrụ the video the governor mgbe Ndi Igbo address during his pre-election campaign. And that you are not, none of you here is more Igbo than myself. My grandmother is from Umuahia. So I'm also Igbo. And as long as I am governor of this state, whatever concerns the Igbos will be top priority in my administration. That video is there on record. So it's up to us now to explore all of that and take it off from then onwards.
Okay. Anyị ga-arapụrụ gị nke ahụ. Maka na dịka isi ekwu, you think you wear two hats, but I tell you we are three. You know, because you're one of your hats is actually that part of Ikwere People's Congress. So
Very well.
I make it three. So, but you know, nonetheless, if we look at leadership and accountability,
yeah,
how do you think that Igbo leaders across the political, cultural, and economic spectrum should work more cohesively to address the, you know, which some people don't believe that is exist, marginalization of Ndi Igbo, you know? Do you think there is anything within your reach that, you know, as a subset of the main Ohanese that River State can bring towards probably addressing marginalization, quote unquote?
Okay, first of all, can make this issue very clear. I had this type of question the other day on radio, and they tried to bring up the issue of Biafra. I told them that Ohanese Ndi Igbo is not involved in the Biafra agitation, but we are interested in addressing the Biafra question. There are two different issues here.
Excellent.
Good. So that people will understand where we're coming from. The Biafra question is one of the unanswered questions in contemporary Black history. And up to today, it touches on the issue raised, Mbasara marginalization. To me, Ndi Igbo ga-akọwara ndị Nigeria why they must lead this nation. I think we have not really spelt out and made our case properly on why it's not the time to whine and cry and, you know, as it were, go ahead to cry blue mother. It's time for us to put ourselves forward as Ndi Igbo and place that demand on the table, bringing our capacity to become president. For instance, which is one of the questions. Our marginalization as Ndi Igbo were a major factor, you know, the Nigerian state maybe address. But because they have failed to address it, it is time for us to raise the conversation very loud. And that is why the factor of unity is very, very important. You know, when I about unity of purpose, there has to be a unity of purpose, because the lack of that unity of purpose or the disrespect for our unity of purpose, it may the Nigerian state naturally may criminalize the Biafra question, and by extension to criminalize the Igbo race. And it is my advocacy that our people must harness our intellectual hub to drive home this issue so we can have them addressed. Thankfully, Ndi Igbo were more than enough
international platforms to do this. But I think now we need to have, whether you call it a study group, or now that an Igbo man of Ikwere extraction or a riverine Igbo man has now emerged as President General, ihe agawo a fundamental issue, if not our membership in terms of the entities that make up Nigeria, our membership of the Nigerian Union will continue to remain questionable. I believe that the issue of the unaddressed Biafra question touching on the marginalization of Ndi Igbo will an intentional act, and all a gang up Ngara just the Nigerian states, or a global conspiracy. So we have to nip it in the bud by, first of all, insulating what our issues are. What do the Igbos want? What do we really want? We have to highlight these points. What do we really want? And how do we achieve that which we want? The moment we're able to address these questions, remember that now this document had in our constitution, even if it is disputed, saying that the Nigerian Union is indissoluble and that Nigeria is non-negotiable. I don't think that is in favor of Ndi Igbo. Those are more like restrictions and restraints that those that created those documents put up in order to keep Ndi Igbo down. So we have to raise those questions so that the moment those impediments are removed, that's the only way we can now thrive. If not, we will continue to thrive as an entity that is not truly recognized as part of Nigeria, that is being used just for the purpose of enjoying our wealth of resources. That's all.
I perfectly understand where you're coming from. Now you brought the issue of the Civil War, and I want to say from historical reflection, what do you believe are the most critical lessons the Igbo nation can draw from the Civil War in shaping its future strategies? You know, vis-a-vis the issue of disconnect between the Igbos, as you rightly mentioned at the beginning, hinterland, Ndi Nuan and the Mali.
Well, part of the lessons Igbo disunity is something we must guide against at all costs, because one of the greatest victims of Igbo marginalization, cohesion as Ndi Igbo, our unity was brought under attack because it is known that our unity is our greatest strength for development. And part of that arrangement was to de-Igbonize the riverine Igbo and make them feel less of Igbo or not being part of Igbo in the first instance. And those were part of the reasons why, in my view, here with the Minority Report by Wilkins, okay, the Wilkins Minority Report, so-called, and then the works of the likes of K. Williamson and so on, who at some point sought to drive home that agenda. There have been several British reports that have sought to de-Igbonize the ancestral Igbos from the riverine parts of Nigeria. So the hard lesson is that we must not dwell on the factors that tend to disunite us. Because largely a lot of our people rode on the wings of that conspiracy theory to isolate themselves from the other. But I think the factor that has kept us is our energy to survive even without government support. And that's why Dele Farotimi said that Igbos are the only race that have the capacity to survive without the support of government. So that de-Igbonization policy of enemies of Ndi Igbo is something we must look at critically so that we will accept ourselves as who we are Every other thing is hinged on this factor. The moment we are able to deal with that, the issue of reconstruction, reconciliation, and so on will become a what do you call it now? Like a walkover. So our unity is key, that we must do everything to stand by each other as Ndi Igbo. Yesterday, I had the privilege of being in the Global Igbo Leaders Meeting. And a lot of prominent Igbo sons, as it were, accomplished, were reading out their profiles, very, very intimidating profiles. There is one who mentioned that Norwo, the head of a particular medical institution in the US that is employing more than 5,000 medical personnel. One talked about his project that he's trying to create fuel-less generators. You have a lot of them, Professor Ihejirika in the Lincoln University or so, who is the chair of the political science department. And this is just to mention but a few, too many. So imagine that we are bringing these people together into one boat, into one room to drive the development of Ndi Igbo. If we can achieve that, government will be at our beck and call. In fact, the rest of Nigeria will plead with us because Igbos have transcended beyond the 5 southeastern states and the states of Rivers and Delta, who are statutory 7 states of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo. They've gone beyond Cross River and Akwa Ibom, Kogi, Edo, and Benue states, respectively. We are now indigenous in various countries of the world. So we have the capacity at this time to harness the energy in this relationship, create an environment where Igbos around the world who have not had a touch in the home front can connect, so we can, as one, bring about the development and have our marginalization issues addressed. And before I shut down this point, may I say that I do not believe in the issue called minority. Ndi Igbo awughị ndị minority. Yes, they've said that we have 3 major Nigerian languages, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, which are major, but the de-Igboization policy brought the riverine Igbo into the minority circle. Before the Wilkins report and before the colonial system, there was no minority group. You can't call Britain that Britain is minority because of their size. They're large, they're one of the foremost world empires. So the size of a people do not determine their level of their influence. Their level of influence is determined by their inherent capacities to influence their neighbors. So it's not a question of numbers or a question of landmass. Those things may add up, but those are not vitally the reasons why, in a bid to make us small and make us look marginalized and forgotten, you now call us minorities whose issues will now be addressed by the Wilkins report. We are too big for that.
Okay. I'm glad you actually brought in the de-Igboization.
Yeah.
And it brings me to a question that I had, earlier written down, which is, there appears to be a disconnect, and I say this loosely here, between the older generation in Rivers State who experienced the Biafran War and, are you there? Okay. So between the older generations in Rivers State who experienced the Biafran War, who seem less inclined to embrace their Igbo heritage comparatively, and the younger generation, internet savvy, who, with the access to wealth of historical materials, are increasingly identifying with their Igbo roots. Comparing these two, how do you see this generational divide impacting the shared Igbo Ikwere heritage and the step, or what steps can be taken to bridge the gap? Obviously, many of us do know, I mean, again, I wouldn't want to pin it down to any statistics, but yes, you would agree with me that there is these, in terms of that the younger generations are actually embracing their heritage more, as it appears that the older generations are walking away, or rather taking a back seat.
Yes.
So,
Well, okay.
so go ahead.
Okay, very quickly, let me tell you what you call the older generation. They also have an army of the younger generation that they have deployed on the streets to take the baton from them. We understand all of that, but let me tell you this: what you call the older generation, are just with profound respect to them, is a loose group of pretenders. They are pretending about it, and it's intentional. It's part of the execution or implementation of that same de-Igboization agenda. And those things are post-war scripts, which there was a recent work. I wrote an article titled, Indeed, What is Bini About Ikwere? And then the second article was titled, The Igbo Hates Ikwere, the Dummy They Sold to Us. So they use this charade, facade called abandoned property schemes, those post-war arrangements to, most of their narratives are hinged on sentiments and emotional blackmails. When you listen to the things they say, as a matter of fact, when I wrote that first article, one of our brothers in the US, posted a book written by the late Oba of Benin of blessed memory, titled, I Remain, Sir, Your Obedient Servant. On page 19, that was in 2020 or thereabout, I wrote that article. On page 19 of that work, he talked about his works because he served as a district head, a district secretary in the Ahuda division at the time. Ahuda is in present-day River State. And he said, I came across the Ikweres and the Ches, who are typical Igbos. Now, some people are laying claim to Bini heritage, but the custodian of that heritage on good authority, the institution that superintends over the culture and history of that particular kingdom, says, no, you are typical Igbos, and you're trying to foist yourself on them. As a matter of fact, Ikweres were already here. If you go through the Bini history, they came into that place today called Bini in the 14th century. But Ikwere history shows that we were here even before the 14th century. So we have always been Igbos, but for the developments of subsequent years that sought to change that narrative. But the point is this, to your question, the younger generation are much more intellectually inclined and globally oriented in understanding the fact that somebody comes and calls himself Chukuma Amadi, and he says, I'm not Igbo. And you begin to wonder whether there is any linguistic register that contradicts that fact. We have the linguistic register, we have the language grouping factors and the carbon dating. Anybody who wants further scientific proof is free. There are available sponsors to give that to give that proof about the Igbo heritage of Ndi Ikwere. So part of what we're doing is reaching out to our own peers. Thank God for social media. You would not believe, since Senator John Mbata emerged, the army of Ikweres who are now calling to say, we want to join Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, we are Igbos. It will amaze you. So part of the strategy to address that issue, I think, has been worked out by nature through the emergence of Senator John Azuta Mbata. Because there are many things you can't do on your own. You work so hard. But when God intervenes in addressing those issues that, like he has done, in the person of Senator John Azuta Mbata, the facts will speak for themselves. So in my own capacity, I'm already weathering the storm. We are already, in quotes, endangered species for publicly towing the spats, even though those who have sought to relegate this heritage to the background are also coming from behind to call to say, look, we are Igbos. Let me tell you, Chief Emmanuel Aguma of blessed memory, an Ikwere man, was chairman of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo Council of Elders. By the time he took up that mantle, some Ikwere chiefs rather, imposed a fine on him. He did not pay that fine because they said if he dies, that they wouldn't attend the burial. He died a hero and he was buried a hero, and he was given a national burial. In fact, some of the state facilities in Rivers are named after him. Chief Emmanuel Aguma. Senator Dr. Obiwale of blessed memory became the minority leader of the Nigerian Senate at the time. An Igbo slot that was donated to him by his hinterland Igbo brothers just to give Ikweres a sense of belonging, that we are all one. Okobule Wonodi, Chief Jackson Mp, Chief Origi, Chief Francis Ella, Chief C.C. Nwuche from Ekpe in Ahoda, in recognition and in honor of his commitment to the Igbo struggle, was made chairman of the Anambra State University until his death. He's the father of Chibodon Nwuche, the former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives. We have very prominent Ikwere sons who have, Chief Obiwale was a founding member of Ndi Igbo. Chief Emmanuel Aguma was among those that wrote the current constitution that created the rotation of the PG-ship of Ndi Igbo among the 7 statutory states in alphabetical order, which has now given Rivers State the chance. So the point is that the truth is now walking on the streets in Rivers State, and people are realizing it. It may not be a one-day journey, but the movement is faster now, and we are riding on this opportunity of our son becoming the PG of Ndi Igbo to lead more than 100 million Igbos around the world, as an opportunity for us to fish our people into this boat, because the unity of Ndi Igbo with Ikweres, whom in my opinion are the largest Igbo group, have now come on board to drive this process, and we believe our Igbo brothers around the world on our side, more will come in, and then the stories behind what this other older generation is doing will go into extinction. That's the beauty. What I said right now has been offending people in these states. Well, like I said to them, I dare you.
Well, it's not for us to cause bad blood.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's why I'm smiling. Not at all.
So, let's move slightly. Before I get people in to ask you questions, we'll be wrapping up. But let's go into these 3 areas, which is cultural renaissance, the role of Ohanese, and youth empowerment. So, if I start with, you at the beginning when I asked you the question regarding if you have met with traders in Rivers and your answers, but I would want to piggyback on it this way. How can if I start with the cultural renaissance, I would say, how can Igbo cultural value, language, and heritage be preserved in a rapidly modernizing world where cultural erosion is a major threat?
Okay, first of all, let me put a rider to what the position I've held in your last question, above the fact that the PG is from Rivers. Our greatest tool and weapon right now is love. Love. That's why I'm smiling. Love. We will overwhelm our people in Rivers State with the power of love and outreach. That's for that purpose. Now, on this issue of preserving our cultural heritage, it is important. I guess that's what you're dealing with, right?
Yes.
Now, we must explore the opportunity of cultural enterprise in Igbo land. Cultural enterprise is very, very vital. We have cultural institutions and values that have not been properly packaged for global attention and for the benefit of Ndi Igbo all over the world. So beyond the celebration of what we call Igbo Day, it's important that we begin to, for instance, let me give you an instance. Igbo traditional foods should be well packaged and processed for the global market. That's number one.
Right.
That's number one. We should think of setting up such systems that are involved in branding and packaging Igbo traditional foods of different varieties. Now, secondly, our Igbo Day event should be rebranded into becoming a global event where we even partner or invite people from nationalities around the world. We can stream these events live on social media and various platforms, but through a system that is well organized. We must properly situate first of all, outline the cultural opportunities and the cultural indices of Ndi Igbo, place them on the table, and work out arrangements and modalities on how to market them to the whole world. One of the greatest tools for the global market is advertising. Ndi Igbo have to start developing systems to advertise their culture, their products, and their results. You imagine what Igbos are known for. Let's say, for instance, our Isiago, which is a symbol of Igbo culture, particularly with respect to our dress code. What is the place of Isiago in the international fabrics market, in the entertainment sector around the world? How have we been able to make Isiago a point of reference for cultural enterprise? The moment we begin to identify these parts, we'll have an arrangement where the Igbo culture will not only be preserved, but it will also have economic benefit for the development of our Igbo. So we should consider packaging and rebranding our culture for global, if you use the word, maybe consumption, for people to begin to key into it. Today we wear kente. Kente is a Ghana material. Mm-hmm. And we have other fabrics that we wear from other cultures around the world. So have we been able to package our own traditional fabrics for the global market as an Igbo label? Those are indicators, those are flags when you talk about flying a national flag. Flying the flag of the Igbo race will have a lot to do with packaging our culture within what I would call cultural enterprise, and also having intentional curriculum for Igbo culture in our academic system. Today I hear that Igbo apprenticeship system has become a subject of study in Harvard University. Igbo apprenticeship system, a subject of study and research in Harvard University. We can do more along those lines. If our apprenticeship system has been identified and selected as a subject of research and intellectual study in Harvard, other aspects of Igbo cultural heritage can be played up to so that they can stand as institutions of global reckoning. The more we do that, the more they are preserved and the more they are beneficial to our people. What stops us, for instance? We have a place like Nnewi, Aba, and Onitsha. I am looking forward to the establishment of an Igbo international market in River State in my time, by God's special grace, where local Igbo materials, foods, and so on will be packaged for exports across the country and outside. I have that type of priority as part of my dreams to be achieved during my term as Ohaneze president in River State. But we can institutionalize these plans as an Igbo project so that they will be preserved and stand the test of time. Those are just a little tidbit of my thoughts on those issues you raised.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and these are issues, the issues also, brought in there as so germane. Now, Iman, no matter what, we must hand over to the next generation. Now, that
Yes.
brings me to youth engagement as we are wrapping
Yes.
up.
Yes.
And as the the president of Ohanese River State chapter, do
Very
you
well.
have any initiative or initiatives that are being put in place or you intend to put in place to inspire and empower young people of Igbo extraction in River State to take active role in leadership, innovation, and community building? I mean, mustn't be necessary that it's something that you've started, but at least something, an idea that probably have crossed your mind too.
Well, one of those that have crossed my mind is particularly in this era of artificial intelligence. Yesterday, during our GIL meeting, one of our Igbo leaders, who is a scientist, offered to mentor young Ikwere people who are willing in his field. So that will take me to a point that I intend to reach out to or draw up a plan, which I'm already developing, for us to have an intentional mentorship program. Ndi Igbo who are established and have their spheres of influence in specific sectors should start discipling an army or a number of young people in their field as part of their succession plan. If, for instance, you are in the field of artificial intelligence and there are youngsters who have affinity with that particular area of life, those who are in that regard can be designated for mentorship in those fields. It should be something we key into our Igbo development plan. Mentorship. This is just going beyond the issue of apprenticeship. This is intentional succession plan, particularly for River State, where many of our people here are not so involved in the type of trade of their hinterland Igbo brothers. So it is my plan to have the buy-in of willing Igbo sectorial leaders to come to the rescue, where we designate periodically, as the case may be, Ikwere, youngsters who are interested in those areas of trade, as it were. So it's important that that particular arrangement is put up. Now, I have also considered the need. Sorry, I lost my video, but it's back now. I also have a plan for a type of exhibition, talent exhibition of young Rivers people of Igbo extraction, where they come to showcase their talents. During our meeting yesterday with some of the mothers in a community called Obogoro in Ikwere here, some of them mentioned that some of their children are sports oriented and they are football lovers, and they would love an opportunity where their children are given the window to exploit that talent so that they can have a type of global attention in that talent hunt. So it is my plan that as part of that transfer of generational talent and potential assets-based arrangement, we bring in these young people into the field of leaders who are accomplished in certain fields to mentor them, either directly or by what you may call an open and distance approach, where they give them cover and give them this necessary support to thrive in those fields. It's going to be an intentional arrangement, because it's my dream that this will be one of the windows to fish people, particularly in Ikwere land. Empowerment is key. Martin Luther King will say, any religion that claims to be interested in your well-being but fails to address the economic situations that strangulate you is a dry and useless religion. So we want to use this as an opportunity to fish our people, and as they see our young ones coming into the field of enterprise, mentored by accomplished people, it will attract more people to come on board. So that's part of the strategy, sir.
Okay, as we wrap up now, for those of you online, if you wish to ask any question, please get ready with your keyboards and just type them in. We will be selecting the questions that we'll bring back to our guest. And those of you here, please, you may wish to use the comment section or also raise your hand. We already have one hand raised now. Now, finally here, the way forward, or rather, the pathway forward. And this question that I'm going to ask you is a hypothetical question, you know, and it will lead into what probably, if there is a long-term, medium, and short-term plan of our Hanese, probably that should be taken into account. And the question is, if you are to outline a 10-year vision for the Igbo nation, what would be your key priorities and how can these be realized collectively?
Well, I believe that Igbos have already learned the hard way from experience about the factors that have affected our overall development. My key area will still be in the area of enterprise and education. Enterprise and education. Ndi Igbo, in the next 10 years, enterprise education, okay, let me say enterprise education and leadership. Okay. We must prepare a generation that will take power in this country in the next 10 years. Because without power, what I mean by power, political power, there is a limit to the things you can do in terms of driving your vision master plan. Igbos are not the president of Nigeria. We are not the Chief Justice of Nigeria. We are not in charge of the security systems. We are not the service chiefs. We are not the Inspector General of Police. We are not the Controller General of Custom. There should be an intentional plan for the next 10 years for Igbos to channel their energy into seizing power in this country. It's very, very fundamental. Power gives an opportunity for you to create policies and even laws that shape the direction of every nation. So top priority for Ndi Igbo right now will be to evolve a generation that will take power in Nigeria so that we'll be able to implement policies that will open up Ala Igbo to the global market beyond settling for the Lagos wharfs. If we have the president of Nigeria as an Igbo man, he will be able to set up visa centers in Ala Igbo, in Port Harcourt, in Enugu. Because when foreign investors come into Nigeria, the first port of call is Lagos, because Lagos is the hub for international flights. All the visa offices are in Lagos and Abuja. There is none in the entire Eastern region, Old Eastern region, including Rivers Delta, Imo, Abia, Enugu, Ebonyi, Anambra, and so on and so forth. So power is of the essence because power will give us an opportunity to have a presidential directive to open up Ala Igbo, the wharfs in this land. When we talk about Ikwere or Rivers State being the channel of Ala Igbo, the closest into the Atlantic, you require power to restore the livelihood, the economic mainstay, the Transamadi industrial layout in Port Harcourt, which was crippled in order to make Lagos to thrive, for all the companies to leave this land and relocate to Lagos. With power, you'll be able to resuscitate the coal mine in Enugu. With power, you'll be able to translate the technologies and scientific innovations in Nnewi into a global market, and we produce sophisticated scientific and technological equipment for global markets. But these are potentials that the lack of power has made Ndi Igbo to remain limited and restricted. However you want to look at it, the lack of power has highly limited our development. So we are treated as second fiddles in this country. So that is one. The second one has to do with education. Many of our people don't know the level of educational limitations we face as Igbos. Not because we don't have the capacity, but because the system is designed in a manner that our educational, potentialities have been limited because of the lack of, innovation that is needed for our research to make a meaning to the rest of the world. Our people are only being used. Look at what is playing out now. It was the Minister for Health who says that in the next 7 years, we may not have urologists anymore in Nigeria. If we have proper education, as well as the incentivization of education in Ndi Igbo, other people may be doing Jakpa, but our people who are trained here, because of incentivization of research and education, will remain in this land to help our people to develop. And the third one, I've talked about education, I've talked about power. The third one is enterprise. Ndi Igbo must be intentional as a third plan to see to it that no Igbo child is unemployed and unempowered, because we have the capacity to drive that. So for the next 10 years, there has to be an intentional commitment of Ndi Igbo around the world to bring their wealth to play through the necessary economic models to flood this Ndi Igbo with entrepreneurship and this idea of apprenticeship that bring the younger generation to become captains of industry in successive mode for the prosperity and development of Ndi Igbo. Those will be my major lines of action in my suggestions.
That is a very, very indeed incisive and fantastic point you've made. And I believe as we have, gentlemen here, with those who are also part of the main Ohanese, that they are taking note, and that we are also taking note in summary as part of our proposition to the Ohanese member body to take note of this. Now, it's time for me to take a couple of questions from our, those that have joined us. The first person to ask question is Lizzie Ibine. Lizzie, please, may kindly unmute, restrict your question to 1 minute, please, and no. Okay, so what's happened? Lizzie, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Lizzie, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening, madam.
Afambo Elizabeth, though I answer Elizabeth now, Neka Ibine. Okay. I'm from Anambra State, and I'm married to Delta State.
You're welcome.
I've been part of this program, but for once, I've not spoken. But why I'm excited to speak is that I can see that we are getting somewhere. I want to be brief. Now, I have experience of being part of the Nigerian Vision 2020, part of the Economic Reconstruction Group, and part of ECOWAS and AU programs. Now, what we can do for ourselves is, it's true that we need power to be in politics, but what is happening to us? Why should we not trade on Mondays? Has it not taken away that economic power from Anambra, Imo, Abia, all the eastern states? What is happening to the new Niger Bridge? Why is it that I passed through there for the first time this Christmas from Asaba Airport, and I found out that They are breaking the bridges. There's robbery on the bridges. What can we as a people do to help ourselves? For us to merge as a nation and take over a power, we have to do some homework, because internally we are not fixed up. We are not in unity. Please, can we begin to do small things and promote enterprise, which our people are known for? That name is moving away from us because of what is happening on Mondays, what is happening at this new bridge. The government has built it for our own good, but why is it turning into a robbery scene?
Thank you very much.
I don't want to speak much. I will be interested in advocating and participating in planning economic development, empowerment of women, because I myself, I have hectares of land where I am farming in the north, and I live in Abuja. So if we have such opportunities and peace, can't we go home and practice?
Thank you very much.
I've advised so many ministers of agriculture. I'm part of African Union, but I can't go home and practice. Please, can we start to structure to see etu ndị be anyị ga-esi welu n'ala ụlọ? Ndewonu.
Ikwutechala ndewo. I would Livingston, if you have to hold on, let me take one, so that if you wish to react to what our sister said, you can. We have Chris Ozo Ezudo. Please, Chris Ozo Ezudo, if you may. 1 minute, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me, man? Yeah?
We can hear you, Chris. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Wechie, thank you very much. Your presentation is wonderful. I wish we can have thousands of you in River State. And sometimes it beats one's imagination that you see your brothers who answer your name, who speak your language, who speak, most times I understand, I come from Anambra anyway, and I understand the Igbo language more than I do, so can the rest of them, but they will still keep telling you that not Igbos. That's by the way. Do you think that it's necessary the PG, our new PG, Senator Mbata, to address the issue concerning what Minister Mike said recently? He kept saying that the Obako Igbo, this Obako Ikwere, this Obako Ikwere, that. That's one. Then the second question is, do you have any plan in respect to Barrister Okuku, to talking to him, because I think there is a faction, he still claimed to be the President General. Do you have any plan, because you people it's still the same River State or Hanese?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would, sorry, you can go ahead and unmute, sorry. Yeah, I will allow you to take these two questions, or rather one comment around the question, then move on.
Well, very quickly, our mother who called referring to the issue of sit at home, that's a security issue, and it's an issue that borders all of us, and it's also a priority question. We can only urge that part of the solution to that particular matter, part of it, is that we're advocating for the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, that is not to justify criminality by anyone, even if some of the criminal activities in the Southeast are sponsored to criminalize the entire Southeast. Much as that is also not enough excuse, we are demanding, because he has made a pledge that his release is going to impact seriously, positively on the security of the Southeast. And I believe so.
in parts of Igbo. Now, it is my view for her to know that Igbos are very wise people. They know their enemies. Some of the things you see playing out, some of the pockets of criminality, well, much as it is common in certain societies, I believe that Igbos are not known for criminality. As such, the campaign will be sustained and improved upon to preach against all forms of crimes and criminality perpetrated in parts of Igbo. We'll continue to do that, and government has a lot of work to do in partnership with Ndi Igbo to drive home this message. She has talked about women empowerment and so on. It's part of the enterprise, the economic enterprise we've talked about. It's part of the issue of cultural enterprise we've talked about. It's a holistic issue, and it's not one that will be treated in isolation. Economic empowerment is economic empowerment, and it does not know gender. So gender question, very well, women must be empowered. I support that 100%, but there has to be a strategy to drive home that particular project. That is why we are talking about the issue of Igbo going for power, so that most of these things that are policy-based, that can only be influenced by government interventions that have been denied Igbo all these years because of lack of power and being in a position to determine them. Once God helps us to attain that place of power, it becomes easier for us, particularly coming from an Igbo patriot and not just a sellout Igbo man, a sold-out Igbo man. On the issue of the PG addressing the Nyesom Wike, the Minister for the FCT's view on his Igbo, I don't think that should be given any kind of energy. Exactly. He's neither here. He's just, he has made his opinion. I respect his opinion, and I'll leave it at that. I'll give no further energy, and I think the PG should ignore. That is not the objective of his office. More people will speak up. They've been saying so. If you say you are Beni, good, no problem, you are right. If you say you are Igbo, you are right. I think that will rest that case. The third has to do with the issue of Uche Okuku. Uche Okuku is my friend and brother, and we have already started talking. The global Igbo leaders are also reaching out to hold meetings with him, as well as Jackson Omenazu in Port Harcourt. I've been mandated to initiate that process. Yes, there are challenges here and there on that matter, but I want to say clearly that these issues will be resolved. It's a family affair. Thank God they are not fighting over the fact that River State was denied, but River State was never denied. Part of their Uche's own challenge, I will leave it to him whenever that meeting will take place, so I don't preempt him. I want to respect each of the positions they have held, much as I see such positions as being needless and unnecessary, but I want to respect so we can give an air for mediation and have their worries addressed and whatever concerns they have. But because in the overall, I believe that they are Igbo patriots, but they must not submit to any form of compromise. It's not in our collective best interest. Particularly now that all we asked for was that Rivers State should be allowed to produce PG. The PG has come, and he's one of our brothers. So everybody should shoot his sword, and let's make some reasonable progress, please.
Thank you very much. Actually, I deeply, deeply appreciate the wisdom you used in navigating the last question. That's really called for here. And I appreciate that. I must say quickly, let me take our father, Abbas Abdulkanu, please, if you quickly unmute yourself and keep it to 1 minute if you don't mind. Chief Abbasi. I have someone here who is a techno spark. Please, I will not be, so that we'll avoid invaders. If you don't mind, you have the right to rename your device, please, so that we can bring you on. Now, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Enwere m ife ọzọ m ga-ekwu karịa na obi dị m ụtọ rinne nkenekwa gị ọzọ ị na-arụ ọrụ Chukwu wetara gị jisi ike.
Thank you.
And enwere m question other than isi maka yesterday ka m na-agwa Kenneth Okonkwo yesterday wee sị na m na-watch ife niile ọ na-ede na ife ọ na-ekwu sị na obi esie na m ike na ụbọchị one fọrọ n'elu ụwa before ma nwụọ na mma nwụ na akpọ n'elu obi egbu m na ụmụazị na-eto ntekịta na-enwere ndị nwere ọgụgụ isi ya ka nna ha afụ na tata o wee bụrụ na PG ihe niile o kwuru ebe a ọdụka ọ gbara afa ife niile o kwuru mgbe si na o nwere ndị bụ nwa I'm sorry, can you use that word, nwa afọ kpara aka mmadụ na ọkọrọ ede na ji ife niile ọ tọchiri bụ o merie because o nwere ife ọzọ mma adịnye n'ife niile o kwuru maka na nke ka tọm ụtọ ọwụ na ọ na-ekwu si na nwa ahụ na-amụ ọrụ ha ga-ebido ka amadịrị onye anyị dị na ọ bụrụ 1963 census this and that anakọta na-achọ onye mụrụ onye ebido taa ugbo afa nke a bụ otu nke ọzọ okwuo that na ụmụ nwoke ụmụ nwanyị ndị na-azụ afịa this and that. And if you remember na last discussion I nwere na this year program I made mention of this. Ebe ka a na-achọ ọhaneze ebe ka market men nọ ebe ka market women nọ. You have to include these people, to move forward. And then ka a na-asa aṅara na-asa aja dị ife na-emenu na baa kịta ọpụziri ike na ụmụazị na-apụta a na-eme kidnap ọ bụrụzi ife eji akpa ego ife abụ ife amaghị gbawa kpatara amaghị dina ọnya kọsịrị ya. So ife ndị abụ ife PG biko ịgwa the general na yourself etu a m fụrụ na gịnwadụ ị na-arụ ese ha this idea because na ọ bụrụ sọsọ ibu degree na-akpagharị n'ọwụ onwekwara onye ma akọ na uche biko daalụ jisi ike.
Thank you very much, Ndi Igbo. Mana biko mara na yanwa bụ President Ọhaneze Ndi Igbo Rivers State Chapter. Anyị ka nwekwara PG bụ President General onye nke bụ gburugburu bụ Senator John Azụta Mbata. Biko ka ọ ghara ịdị ka onwe onye na-anaghị ibi ọrụ. Now you keep ọfụma. Let's take Chezi. Chezi, please. 1 minute. Sorry, unmute Chezi. Then Faustinus, you get ready.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
I like what you and your guests are doing. Yeah, but the problem with that, take a good time in this stage. So I hope now, I hope they know that the process to get to where they want to get to will take at least 15 years. So we have to kind of appreciate that time frame because there were a lot of stages of reorientation that needs to happen, both in Rivers Igbo and the general Igbo. So part of our problem is that sometimes we want things so soon that we don't appreciate the time frame that is required. So maybe we have to start small and start with the very small things we can achieve immediately. In things that require more soft approaches, because people have been saying this for 50 years that they are not Igbo. You cannot change them. You cannot change people's mind in 5 years. So I appreciate it, and I hope he does well. Him and the main Ohaneze president, but it will take time, and they need to be consistent over a long period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I would take one more question and let him take these questions all together. Faustinus, please. Biko, unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, brother.
I got my like is here no Igbo, but let me go to English. My presido. First of all, I watched your one of your speech on when you went to Michael Kiro's I think his place or something like that. Everything you said there, I appreciate it. I love everything. You see, myself, I schooled in University of Port Harcourt. I'm married to a Rivers woman, and all my years in Choba, Igbo people never maltreated me. From Undodo down to Ahuipa, they never maltreated me. They took me as theirs. So let me just go straight to the point. Now, I am looking at, do you people have a plan of creating Ndi Igbo women's wing? Because the structure of Igbo need to be there. Because there's no...
We
lost him.
His voice, maybe on with our call. But again, we have two more people when you can. So what's going to happen now, Biko? You can go ahead and take the question so far, then we can take the last two.
Well, the point is that, well, the first one was more like a charge and an encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
And I deeply appreciate that because it's quite priceless. The second one has to do with advice of taking time. But I want to say that on the issue of consistency and taking time, that is taken into serious consideration. But again, you will not embark on a voyage of trying to convince every Rivers person who is of Igbo extraction before you start making progress. You see, so that is why we have set out a template that will start improving and developing our Igbo, both in the hinterland and the riverine areas. And we'll have this as a medium for people to come on board. The issue of convincing them, of getting them to realize their heritage, is going to be a long-term arrangement. It's going to take a time of reorientation, a period of unlearning that which is not correct. Really. You know, the unlearning and debriefing process is never automatic.
Yep.
You have been used to an untrue. You know, there is a difference between a lie and an untrue. In this case, there is a lie content and also an untrue content in the falsehood that has been peddled over our Igbo identity and our Igbo heritage. So that is very vital. We are going to take our time, and it's not a one-man business. It's not a one-man business. It's a collective effort so that the development and prosperity we look forward to can go round. But we will not wait until we achieve that reorientation completely before we start taking steps for our prosperity. If the only Igbo man that believes in his Igbo heritage in Rivers State is one person, after all, God delivered the Midianites into the hands of Gideon as one man. So we will work with that one man. But our greatest weapon to go a-fishing and fish them into truth will be love, progress, and prosperity, covered and sealed and laced with truth. We'll stop at nothing within lawful means to drive truth to the homes of our people. Now, concerning the plan, the issue of the women's wing. Yes, there is a functional women's wing of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo in Rivers State. The women's wing leader has already been constituted. In fact, yesterday I held a meeting with a large number of Ikwere women, and they all bought into this project, and the women leader was presented to them, Mrs. Uju, and a BOT, I appointed a BOT chairperson for the women's wing, and the person of one of our daughters from Isiokbo, Mrs. Nice Alemesea. So we have them on board, and they are working tirelessly. In fact, there is another wing of the single ladies, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo single ladies, particularly those who are in the universities. There is also a unit like that we are developing for the women, as well as setting up campus chapters of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo in higher institutions of learning
in Rivers State, particularly in Rivers State. I want to speak for Rivers State. And then we are also by the middle of next month, we are looking forward to setting up Ohanese structures and chapters across the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. So we've been working very hard. It's quite tasking. The logistics are quite heavy, but we are doing a bit. You know, it's enough to talk. But after the talk begins the work, Okueme. So we're already on the streets, we're on the road round the clock to achieve this, because there must be no loopholes. There must be no windows left loose in our journey to achieve these heights and the objectives. We'll achieve them by God's grace. And everybody is buying. Market women are strongly involved, but we'll expand further to make sure that they are not just involved by way of being mobilized, but they are actively involved and participating and also seeing the results of their effort.
So, thank you very much for those clarifications. I think our brother Faustinus is back. I don't know what happened, but so just make it very quickly, please. If you just unmute and make it very, very quickly. You've just done part of your 1 minute.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. It's the network where I am. Now, let me just go straight to the point. Let me just go straight to the point of the network issue. Now, I made mention of the Ohanese Ndi Igbo women, yes, which is okay. Do you people, in the course of planning, have a system whereby every sons and daughter in Ohanese Ndi Igbo, I'm not talking about River State, too. I'm talking about a system whereby every sons and daughters of Igbo land, whether from the hinterland or the river right area, pay dues, whether you're a member or not, particularly those in the diaspora, so that when they come back home, because they have been paying certain amounts, when they come back home, any little medical, they can go and have medical check from a reputable hospital from Ohanese Ndi Igbo, where they can go there and check themselves and they go home without paying because they've been paying dues. Then another one is, can we have a system whereby our brothers in other states, 7 states or 9 states, in total where you have Igbos are 13 states, how do we bring them in? Okay. It's another, particularly those from Benue State, Edo State, Bayelsa, Kogi, yes, bring them in. These are our brothers. Bring them in and put them in the structure. Thank you very much.
Okay, very quickly. Let me say clearly, as for Rivers State, I've talked about the database, but to add to it, the part of the database arrangement is to officially have every Igbo child. If you're a family of 5, that family of 5 will pay a particular fee for registration into Ohanese Ndi Igbo. We want to make it a persuasive compulsion. I use the word persuasive compulsion so as to say that we want to make it very important that every family, every Igbo family should have every member of that family officially registered with Ohanese Ndi Igbo. And the monies that will be realized from that particular plan will go a long way to set up, we want to set up a world-class free medical facility in Rivers State for the indigent Ndi Igbo who may have medical challenges and go there to sort them out. We intend to set up a trust fund through a special arrangement that will serve as a special purpose vehicle for educational intervention. There are 2 things we want to set up: a free school and a free medical facility for indigent Igbo children in Rivers State. Now, that is why the issue of paying monthly dues comes on stream also, because these monies will add to the arrangement. If there is an Igbo child anywhere or an Igbo person that is in distress, that is in trouble, we'll have a way of reaching out to such persons to intervene in their troubled situations. Whatever those challenges are, whether it's a police arrest, as long as you've not committed a crime, and so on. So I want to say that these plans you've reeled out are on the table, and we are working tirelessly to have them implemented. We already, we are just barely 2 weeks old on stream. So we've already outlined these and our meetings, because whatever we are doing, we also want to be in alliance with the national office, which is headed by the President General, distinguished Senator John Azota Mbata, my father. So I want to say that it is our plan to have these things set out so that we can have an Ohaneze Ndi Igbo that has a corporate setup, And let me also cheer you with this. Beyond having the issue I mentioned about main markets in Rivers State, we also intend to have an Igbo house that will house the Ohaneze Secretariat in Rivers State, a befitting edifice with a large compound that will serve as a melting point of Ndi Igbo. You can easily come there, go to the cafeteria, pay some fees, and have a meal, an Igbo traditional meal at all times, so that we can also have an environment that reminds us and allows us to enjoy the beauty of our Igbo-ness. So that is the point I seek to make on the issues you have raised.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And the last but not the least, Gary Okechukwu, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, host, for the wonderful job that you are doing. I want to start by sending my heartfelt congratulations to both Chief Livingston Wechi and the President General on their new elections. I was happy when the roles were zoned to Rivers State, and they quickly snapped up the posts. I'm also happy with all the plans and programs that he has lined up to achieve in Rivers, to ensure that the flag of Ohaneze is kept flying. One thing that I'm thrilled about is his plan to ensure that the truth is not hidden anymore. The one that I like most was where he talked about the lies and the untruth that have been planted, and which over time he will work towards unraveling. It won't be a day's job. It will take some time, but consistency is the major thing that has to be watched out for. I would therefore ask him, based on all the interest that is generated with his appointment, based on all the prayers that members have been praying with him, is it necessary for him to, he can tell us what does he think would be his problem, or how would he want Ndi Igbo, or how would he want Ohaneze to help him to achieve some of these lofty ideas that he has, so that we can on our own start helping from our own end. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's the last question. If you may answer that question, then we can wrap it up and call it a day. Thank you.
Well, as per support, of course, we will need finances. There are no two ways about it. Most of the items that have been reeled out here are of huge logistical requirements. And we are not pretending about it. Within our means, the issue of contributions and dues are the little we can talk about. And those who can equally, not just finances, those who can equally, like we talked about building a database, we talked about setting up our secretariat. If you want to donate a property to us in Port Harcourt, please, we are willing and we are available, we are ready. Because we need a functional secretariat for Ohaneze Ndi Igbo in Rivers State. And there will be a lot of outreaches, medical outreaches, and educational support programs for our people. So if you are willing to take on some people on scholarship, indigenous Igbos, particularly as the number one priority, we have them already been identified. And the most of it is that these arrangements will require serious financial interventions. And I hope that we can be reached, and whatever support, those who can support by way of, institutional support, maybe volunteering their organizations to take up certain tasks, are also very, very much welcome. At least you've heard what we have railed out, even more that may not have been mentioned here. We are open to collaboration. We are open to synergy, and all necessary support is needed to achieve this, because we are able, and we know that by God's special grace and your prayers and well-wishing, we will achieve these lofty ideas by God's special grace. Thank you, and I love you. I appreciate this greatly.
Thank you very much. I think, oh, okay, we'll have one more. Please, 30 seconds. Okoanya, please. Okoanya, please unmute. 30 seconds, please.
Okay, Mr. President, I am Okoanya from Bonny Island, calling from Bonny Island. I want to appreciate your efforts and also say thank God, congratulate you for this opportunity the Lord has given to you to render a selfless service to the people, God Almighty. My only question is, if possible, can you itemize your agenda to the platform so that for some of us in different local governments in Rivers State will be able to know your agenda for this your tenure, and also the plan you have to strengthen the Ohanese in all the local governments in Rivers State. And I appreciate your efforts that you said we're going to have a very large secretariat and other plans which I have had here. And I pray that God will make it a reality to the glory of His name and for the good people of Igbos in all the local governments in Rivers State. So I will only ask if your agenda will be made public for us to know, and also see how we can follow it up to ensure that this agenda.
Okay, so I think on that will be the last question that we would take. And if you may quickly, Livingston, I don't know if how you want to handle that. I'll leave that up to you.
No problem. We may not expose everything all at once, but in bits, for people to be able to digest them. We'll make them available and have the buy-in of our people so they can be involved to have them actualized. Secondly, on the issue of strengthening the structures, I as the president of Ohanese and River States, I've said it here that by the second week in February, we're looking forward to setting up local government structures across the 23 LGAs and have them set up with executive committees, because that's the vehicle through which we'll have a comprehensive registration and participation of our people across board. We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Ụmụnne asị na ọbambara gbasi egwu bụ ike ịma ife ọmụta na egwu agwụgwọ. On that note, we are come to the end of this conversation with our dear brother who joined us from Rivers State. Now, there are a couple of things that came out of this conversation in summary here. He has outlined the things he believes and the things he wished to do for Ndi Igbo in Rivers State. He has also given his ideas as to what the Ohanese National should do. There are times that when we refer to Ohanese, we refer to Ohanese as third person singular, and that makes it abstract. I will ask all of us, anyị ncha niile bụ ndị Ohanese. Ọ bụrụ na onye na-ekwu okwu sị, unu bụ ndị Ohanese, ọ dịghị mma. Maka na iso bụrụ ya, ma ị na-abịa nzukọ, ma ị naghị abịa nzukọ, mmalụ amalụ na ọ bụ igwe bụ ike, na mụ na gị bụ ọha, anyị ma na ya enwe ndị bụ eze mana mara amara na ọ bụ anyụkọ mamịrị na ọgba ụfụfụ onwekwana ka mamịrị gba ụfụfụ ma o metụghị ala ma mamịrị ga-agba ụfụfụ ọ ga-akpọrọ isi metụ ala a sịkwa na nchịpụta ede abụghị ọkụkọ maka na nwanne anyị nwoke anyị na ya nọ ebe a ekwuola ihe niile dị ya n'isi ọ ga-eme mana o nwere otu ihe dị mkpa o kwuru ọ sị na ọ ga-achọ na a ga-enyere ya aka ka a mara kedu ka a ga-esi weta ego a ga-eji rụọ ọrụ a ọtụtụ n'ime anyị anọrọla na-eche otu afọ abụọ gịnị ka ọha na eze na-eme ọkwa gwara anyị na a ga-eme nke na ọ ga-eme nke ọzọ ọ ga-eji isi ya wee rụ mmadụ agaghị ebunye nwata nnu akpụ ya mmiri ọ bụrụ na anyị nwebụ ndị Igbo ziri ha ọrụ chọrọ ka ha rụọla anyị ọrụ ma rụkarịa dịka ha kwetere na ha ga-arụla anyị ga-ama etu anyị ga-esi welu tụba aka n'akpa anyị ma ọ na-anọ na diaspora ị nọ na Rivers ị nọ n'Enugu ebe ọ bụ na onye Igbo nọ biko nọ n'oge na-adịghị anya anyị ga-akpọtụrụkwa ha sị ha na ya bụ ugo a na-ekwu na o berelala mgbọgbu biko kedu akara ebe a ga na-akwụnye ụgwọ ka ndị mmadụ onwe ka o si metụ ha n'obi maka na ọ bụrụ na ọ nwere onye na-abụ oje ebe a na-aṅụ mmanya ọ ṅụọ iko mmanya na-abụ si mara amara na ihe a na-ekwu bụ ihe gbasara anyị gbasakwanụ maka ọdịnihu anyị ga-asị onye ṅụọ kama anyị ga-asị ga aṅụ na chacha kama ṅụọ otu iko ma were ego otu iko nye ọha na eze ka ha wee na-arụrụ Igbo ọrụ ụmụnne m niile ana m asị unu na ya bụ chi ya bụ ugo eberegokwana na mgbagbu ọ dị ka ebe a ka anyị ga-adọta igwe okwu anyị wee sị na ya bụ okwu anyị ekwutegokwana ya nke ọma on this note I say once more to my brother it's been a fantastic time with you and I'll say please if you may use 1 minute for your closing remark before we call it a day.
Well, thank you for this honor of life. And ụmụnne m biko anyị chọrọ ka anyị niile jikọta aka so that ihe anyị kwuru ụka ya ka anyị mee achieve. Ịfụnanya dị very important. Na ikwere anyị na-akpọ ya ọhụnanya. So ọ dị very very important that ndị Igbo ga-ahụ onwe ha n'anya ịhụ nwanne gị ọ dị ka ihe na-ekwu na ọha na eze onye aghara nwanne ya. So let's all uphold love and know that God is on our side. This is our golden moment as Ndi Igbo all over the world. Whatever we can do at this time to develop Ala Igbo and to make it a place of envy to our neighbors, the time is now. For those of us in Rivers State, we'll do our best. I call for global support for our President General, Senator John Asotambata. Please rise wherever you are. Pray for him. Let him be a point of prayer on your knees and his management team. Give them the necessary support to achieve this task because he's the president of the Igbo nation. Let us stand by him and give all the necessary support. As for us in Rivers State, we need your prayers also. And we need your physical support because we can't achieve all this. But in all, know that we have a future. And in the summary, like you talked about the Igbo development plan, we should have 100 years development master plan for Ala Igbo. So we can be taking them phase by phase so that in the next 100 years, in every decade, we have a lot to say, this is what we achieved within 10 years, pursuant to the 100 years development plan. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you once more. It's been a conversation that we have had with our guest, Livingston, the president of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo River State Chapter and national chairman of the Ikwere Progressive Council, IPC.
Ikwere People's Congress.
Oh, sorry, Ikwere Progressive Congress, IPC.
Ikwere People's Congress.
Ikwere
People's Congress.
I don't know. Maybe APC have gotten into me. Ikwere People's People's
Congress. Yes.
IPC worldwide. So it's been a very lovely time. So on those of you who are watching us online, we'll say to you good night, as usual and customary here.